Welcome back to Technological Frontiers, one breakthrough at a time. Today we're diving into From Risk to Regulation, the EU's AI Act as an ambitious new move on AI.
Oh, wow.
It's a fascinating look at how the European Union is tackling the challenges of artificial intelligence.
Right.
This deep dive is based on an insightful article by technologist Himat Juel, who's always on top of the latest tech advancements.
Yeah.
We'll be extracting the key takeaways from his work, and by the way, we highly recommend checking out the full article for even more detail.
It's definitely a hot topic right now. The EU AI Act is causing quite a stir in, in the tech world.
For good reason, I think. While everyone was busy debating how many R's are in strawberry, thanks to ChatGPT,
Huh.
the EU was quietly crafting a whole new set of rules for the AI landscape.
It's a pretty significant shift. The act isn't about quirky AI moments. It's about setting clear boundaries for how AI is developed and used within the EU.
So let's get into the nitty-gritty. What exactly is the EU AI Act, and why should we as users, and maybe even developers of AI care?
Well, the EU AI Act is essentially a comprehensive piece of legislation aimed at regulating artificial intelligence. The key here is its risk-based approach, which means that AI systems are categorized based on the potential risks they pose.
Okay.
And with each risk level comes a different set of rules and responsibilities.
So not all AI is created equal in the eyes of the EU. What does this mean for businesses using AI in their operations? Are we talking minor tweaks or a major overhaul?
For many, it's a major overhaul. The Act introduces hefty penalties for non-compliance with fines potentially reaching 35 million. It's a clear signal that the EU is serious about responsible AI development.
Ouch, that's definitely going to make companies pay attention. It's not just a suggestion, it's the law with some serious teeth. What are the driving principles behind these regulations?
The core principles are fairness, accountability, and transparency.
Okay.
This means businesses need to ensure their AI systems are developed and used ethically, that they're responsible for the decisions their AI makes, and that the inner workings of their AI are clear and understandable.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture. You mentioned risk categories earlier. Can you break those down for us? What kind of AI falls into each category?
Sure, the EU AI Act outlines four main risk categories: unacceptable risk, high risk, limited risk, and minimal risk. Let's start with the most serious one, unacceptable risk.
Let's dive into the danger zone. This is where things get real, right?
Exactly. The unacceptable risk category focuses on harmful AI practices. These are practices deemed completely unacceptable due to their potential for harm to individuals, society, or fundamental rights.
Give us some concrete examples of what would fall under this category.
Think of AI systems used for social scoring, similar to what's being used in some countries to rank citizens based on their behavior, or AI being used for indiscriminate surveillance where people are constantly monitored without their knowledge or consent. These practices are outright banned under the Act.
So a clear line in the sand, no Big Brother scenarios allowed. What about AI applications that aren't outright harmful, but could still have a significant impact depending on how they're used?
That's where the high-risk category comes in. These are AI systems used in sectors that significantly impact people's lives. Sectors like healthcare, education, finance, and law enforcement.
I can see how AI in those areas could have major consequences if not used responsibly.
Yep.
Can you give us some specific examples of what a high-risk AI system might look like in practice?
Imagine AI being used to determine insurance premiums, assess creditworthiness, or even make hiring decisions. These are all high-stakes scenarios where bias in the algorithms could have a real impact on people's lives.
That makes perfect sense. Higher stakes equals stricter rules.
Hmm.
What about the limited risk category? Where does that fit in?
This category primarily focuses on transparency. It covers AI systems like chatbots or deepfakes, where the main concern is ensuring users know they're interacting with AI.
So no more AI pretending to be human without us knowing. Transparency is key here.
Precisely. Clear labeling of AI-generated content is a major focus in this category.
Okay, last but not least, tell me about the minimal risk category. I'm really hoping everyday tools like spam filters are still allowed.
Don't worry, your spam filters are safe. Minimal risk AI systems pose very little to no threat to people or society. We're talking about everyday tools like spam filters, recommendation algorithms, and even simple video games. These systems aren't subject to the strict regulations of the higher risk categories.
That's a relief. But here's a question that's been on my mind. With all this talk about categorizing AI, what about those really powerful general-purpose AI models like GPT-4? Where do they fit into this framework?
That's a great question, and it brings us to the world of general purpose AI, or GPAI. These are the heavy hitters, the AI models with capabilities that extend across various domains and have the potential for enormous impact, both positive and negative.
So GPI is like the wild card in this whole AI regulation game.
Mhm.
How does the EU AI Act address these powerful models? Are they treated differently?
They are, the Act recognizes that GPI requires a different approach. It sets out stricter requirements, particularly for models deemed to have high impact capabilities. For example, there's a FLOP's threshold that stands for floating point operations per second, a measure of computing power that flags a GPAI model as posing a systemic risk if it's exceeded.
So it's like a red flag that goes up signaling that this particular AI model has the potential to cause widespread impact.
Exactly. And to ensure transparency, the Act mandates that GPI providers publicly disclose summaries of the data used to train their models. This helps us understand how these powerful models learn and what biases they might have inherited from their training data.
It sounds like the EU is really trying to get ahead of the curve with this act, but are there any criticisms of the act? Are there concerns that it might not be enough to address the rapidly evolving landscape of AI?
There are definitely some concerns. Some critics argue that the Act might struggle to keep pace with advancements in AI, particularly in areas like generative AI, and its potential to create increasingly sophisticated and difficult to detect content.
So is the concern that the act might be playing a constant game of catch-up with the speed of AI development?
That's certainly one of the concerns. And there are also questions about the Act's effectiveness in addressing issues like copyright and intellectual property when it comes to AI-generated content.
So it sounds like there's still work to be done to refine and adapt the regulations as AI technology continues to advance.
Absolutely. The EU AI Act is a significant step forward, but it's just the beginning of the journey, not the end.
Okay, we've covered the what and the why of the EU AI Act.
Yeah.
But what about the when? When does all of this go into effect, and what does that mean for businesses using AI?
The AI Act entered into force in August 2024, and its provisions will be phased in over the next few years with full enforcement expected by 2026.
So businesses have some time to prepare and adjust their AI practices to comply with these new regulations.
Yes, but the key takeaway here is that businesses shouldn't wait until the last minute. The AI Act is not simply about ticking boxes and avoiding penalties. It's about fostering a culture of responsible AI development and use.
Right, it's about taking a proactive approach and integrating these principles of fairness, accountability, and transparency into their AI development processes from the get-go.
Exactly. And by doing so, businesses can not only ensure they're compliant with the regulations, but also demonstrate their commitment to ethical AI practices.
Which can go a long way in building trust with their customers and enhancing their reputation in a world that's increasingly concerned about the impact of AI.
Absolutely. Responsible AI is not just good ethics, it's good business.
Well said. Before we move on, I want to highlight something Hemant Jewel emphasizes in his article. He sees the AI Act as a call to action for businesses, not just a set of rules to follow.
He makes some really compelling points about the potential benefits of proactively adopting the AI Act guidelines.
It's about seeing the AI Act as an opportunity, not just an obstacle. Let's dig into that right now.
Jewel argues that businesses shouldn't view the AI Act as just another hurdle to clear.
Yeah, it's more than just a checklist for compliance.
Exactly. He sees it as an opportunity for companies to really step up and demonstrate their commitment to ethical AI.
I like that framing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just about avoiding penalties. It's about getting ahead of the curve and building trust with customers.
Think about it in a world where consumers are becoming increasingly aware of the potential pitfalls of AI. Wouldn't you be more inclined to trust a company that's openly committed to using AI responsibly?
Absolutely. It's
Really
like a
was-
seal of approval saying, this company cares about the ethical implications of its AI.
And that can translate into real business benefits, attracting top talent, strengthening customer relationships, even gaining a competitive edge.
So it's not just about mitigating risk. It's about seizing a strategic advantage in the marketplace.
Precisely. The companies that embrace the principles of the AI Act early on are likely to be the ones that thrive in the long run.
It makes you wonder if we'll eventually see some sort of global consensus on AI regulation.
That's the million-dollar question. The EU has taken a bold step with the AI Act, but AI is a global phenomenon. It's in everyone's best interest to find common ground on how to develop and use it responsibly.
Let's hope so. Now, circling back to Juyel's article, he highlights some specific examples of AI practices that are deemed unacceptable under the Act. What are some of the most striking examples?
One that immediately jumps out is the ban on social scoring systems. The idea of using AI to evaluate and rank individuals based on their behavior raises all sorts of red flags about discrimination and unfair treatment.
Yeah, it sounds like something straight out of a dystopian sci-fi novel.
Exactly. The Act recognizes the potential for these systems to erode fundamental rights and create a society where people are constantly judged and categorized by algorithms.
It's a stark reminder that we need to be very careful about how we deploy AI. What other practices are on the EU's no-go list?
Another significant one is the restriction on real-time facial recognition in public spaces for law enforcement purposes. The Act acknowledges the potential for this technology to be used for mass surveillance and infringe on people's privacy.
So it's about drawing a line between legitimate security needs and protecting individual liberties.
Exactly. There are exceptions for serious crimes like terrorism or finding missing persons, but the general principle is that widespread use of facial recognition for surveillance is off limits.
It's a delicate balance to strike. Now, we talked about high-risk AI systems earlier, but I'd like to dig a little deeper into some real-world scenarios where these systems could potentially have negative consequences.
One area that comes to mind is the use of AI in hiring and recruitment. While AI can help streamline the process and identify promising candidates, there's real risk of bias creeping in.
So even with good intentions, AI could inadvertently perpetuate existing inequalities.
That's the danger. Imagine an AI system trained on historical hiring data where men have predominantly held leadership positions.
Hmm,
It might then unfairly favor male candidates over equally qualified female candidates simply because that's what it's learned from the data.
that's a sobering thought. It highlights the importance of carefully auditing these systems and ensuring they're designed to promote fairness and equal opportunity.
Absolutely. It's not just about the algorithms themselves, it's about the data they're trained on and the human oversight involved in interpreting the results.
What other high-stakes areas are raising concerns?
The use of AI in healthcare is another one with both immense potential and significant risks.
Healthcare is such a sensitive area. The stakes are incredibly high.
They are. For example, AI-powered diagnostic tools can help doctors identify diseases earlier and more accurately, which is
And
fantastic.
it's a huge benefit.
But what if these tools are trained on biased data sets? They could lead to misdiagnoses and potentially harmful treatments, especially for groups that are underrepresented in the data.
That's a scary thought. It underscores the need for rigorous testing and validation of these systems before they're deployed in real-world settings.
Absolutely. And then there's the issue of data privacy. Healthcare data is incredibly sensitive, so ensuring that AI systems are designed to protect patient confidentiality is paramount.
Okay, so high-risk AI systems definitely warrant a cautious and ethical approach.
Mm.
What about the limited risk category? Are there any scenarios where the need for transparency is particularly important?
Think about the world of online content. We're encountering more and more AI-generated text images and even videos these days.
Right, it's becoming increasingly difficult to distinguish between what's real and what's been created by AI.
Exactly, and that's where transparency comes in. Deepfakes, for instance, can create incredibly realistic but entirely fabricated videos of people saying or doing things they never actually did.
I've seen some of those deepfakes, and they're incredibly convincing.
They are, and that's what makes them so potentially dangerous. The EU AI Act mandates that AI-generated content, particularly in cases where it could be used to deceive or manipulate, be clearly labeled as such.
So it's about empowering users to make informed decisions about the content they're consuming.
Exactly. Transparency helps build trust and allows people to navigate the online world with a critical eye.
It seems like the overarching goal of the EU AI Act is to foster responsible AI development and use not to stifle innovation.
That's a key takeaway. It's about finding that sweet spot between encouraging progress and protecting people from potential harm.
And hopefully it will serve as a model for other countries grappling with these same challenges.
The EU AI Act is a bold step forward, and it will be interesting to see how it influences the global AI landscape in the years to come.
Well, it definitely gives us all a lot to think about. And on that note, I think it's time to turn our attention to Joyal's closing thoughts in his article.
He leaves us with a powerful question about the future of AI regulation.
Absolutely. Let's delve into that right now. Joyal ends his article with kind of a thought-provoking question.
Yeah, he asks, given the rapid pace of AI evolution, what further measures might be necessary to ensure the responsible development and deployment of this technology?
It's a big question, and I don't think there are any easy answers.
No, not at all. It really challenges us to think long-term about the implications of AI and how we can shape its trajectory in a positive direction.
The EU AI Act is a crucial step, but it's just the beginning of a much larger conversation about the ethical development and use of AI.
For sure. We need to keep questioning, Keep exploring and keep pushing for solutions that prioritize human well-being alongside technological advancement.
And that brings us back to Hemant Joyal, the author of the article that inspired this deep dive.
Yep, his work provides a valuable framework for understanding the complexities of AI regulation and the challenges we face as a society.
We highly recommend checking out his full article, From Risk to Regulation, the EU's AI Act as an Ambitious New Move on AI.
Absolutely. We'll be sure to include a link in the show notes.
And a huge thank you to Hemant Joyal for his insightful analysis.
Yeah, his work is essential reading for anyone who wants to stay informed about the evolving world of AI.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the EU AI Act.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you found it informative and thought-provoking.
I hope so too.
We encourage you to keep exploring the frontiers of technology, keep asking those tough questions, and keep engaging in the conversations that will shape the future of AI.
Until next time.
Until next time, on Technological Frontiers, one breakthrough at a time. Keep those minds curious,